How are you guys doing? Today is Wednesday, December 30th, 2020, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to jump into yesterday's Elite performances from Tuesday, December 29th, from basketball and college and soccer as well. And I'm going to preview what's going on today. And starting with the NBA, because the NBA just got started on the 22nd, which was a little over last week. And in last night's game, some teams are able to pick up some big wins over other teams. And of course, early on, we see that a lot of these games are two game stints back to backs to limit traveling. So of course, a lot of these teams are playing the same teams early on. But just jumping into it. Starting in Cleveland, the Cleveland Cavaliers were able to beat they hosted the New York Knicks, and the Knicks were able to beat the Cavaliers 95-86, especially following their big first quarter, which saw the Knicks outscore the Cavaliers by 14. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, their point guard Darius Garland would finish with 17 points and 6 assists, shooting 6 for 18 from the field in 37 minutes. Their center Andre Drummond would finish with 18 points, 17 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, and 6 blocks, shooting 7 for 13 from the field and 4 for 10 from 3. And the Cavs' leading scorer was their point guard Colin Sexton, who had 20 points and 4 assists, shooting 6 for 17 from the field in 41 minutes. For the New York Knicks, their small forward Reggie Bullock would finish with 17 points and 7 rebounds, shooting 6 for 13 from the field in 41 minutes. And the Knicks' leading scorer was Julius Randle, the power forward out of Kentucky, who had 28 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, and 9 turnovers. He shot 9 for 16 from the field in 44 minutes, 4 for 4 from 3, and he made 6 of his 10 free throws. With this win, the New York Knicks are now 2-0, which is currently seating them in the very middle of the NBA. We're currently looking at the East standings. They're sitting at about 7th, tied with the Nets, the Celtics, and the Bucks. And then with this loss, the Cavaliers are sitting 3rd in the East as they picked up their very first loss of the season. Jumping out to yet another game, jumping out to Detroit, the Detroit Pistons hosted the Golden State Warriors, and the Golden State Warriors were able to get their second win of the season, beating the Pistons 116-106, especially following their big second half where they outscored the Pistons by 14. For the Detroit Pistons, off the bench, their point guard, former MVP Derrick Rose, finished with 15 points and 7 assists in 26 minutes, shooting 6 for 18 from the field. Their small forward, Josh Jackson, would finish with 17 points for the club. He would have a pretty big game for his hometown team. And then their power forward, Jeremy Grant, would finish with 27 points and 7 rebounds and 3 steals, shooting 9 for 21 in 37 minutes. For the Golden State Warriors, their small forward, Andrew Wiggins, would finish with 27 points, 7 rebounds, shooting 9 for 19 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3 in 38 minutes. And their goated point guard, Stephen Curry, would lead the team with 31 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, shooting 9 for 17 from the field in 35 minutes. He shot 5 for 9 from 3, and he made all 8 of his free throws. With this win, the Golden State Warriors are currently sitting sitting 9th in the West with a 2-2 record, tied with the Timberwolves, the Pelicans, and the Lakers thus far. And then with this loss, the Detroit Pistons are 0-4. They are tied with the Washington Wizards for the absolute worst record in the entire West, and the entire league for that matter as well. Jumping out to Indianapolis, the Indiana Pacers hosted the Boston Celtics, and the Celtics were able to give the Pacers their first loss of the season, as the Celtics outscored the Pacers 33-17 to beat the Pacers by 5 in the end, 116-111. For the Indiana Pacers, their power forward Miles Turner would finish with 16 points and 6 rebounds in 32 minutes. Their small forward TJ Warren would finish with 17 points in 30 minutes. Their point guard Malcolm Brogdon would finish with 19 points and 7 assists, shooting 7 for 15 in 35 minutes. And their leading scorer was their small forward Victor Oladipo, who would finish with 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, shooting 10 for 18 from the field in 34 minutes. For the Boston Celtics, their point guard Marcus Smart would finish with 17 points and 5 assists, shooting 3 for 10 from the field in 32 minutes. Their shooting guard Jaylen Brown would finish with 20 points and 4 assists, shooting 7 for 13 from the field in 34 minutes. And their leading scorer was their elite power forward Jason Tatum, who finished with 27 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. And with this win, the Boston Celtics are sitting at 2-2, tied with the Knicks. They're sitting in the 8th seed in the East with this win. And with this loss, the Pacers are now 3-1, sitting 4th in the East as they picked up their very first loss of the season against the Celtics last night. Jumping out to Philadelphia, the Philadelphia 76ers hosted the Toronto Raptors, the champs from a couple of years ago. And in this game, the Sixers were able to pick up their third win of the season. After going into the fourth quarter all tied up, the Sixers outscored the Raptors 24-17. And in the end of the day, they would win by 7 as well, winning 100-93. For the Toronto Raptors, their small forward OG Anunoby out of Indiana would finish with 20 points and 6 rebounds, shooting 7 for 11 in 36 minutes. Their elite power forward Pascal Siakam would finish with 20 points and 6 rebounds, shooting 8 for 23 from the field in 35 minutes. And their point guard Kyle Lowry would finish with 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists, leading the team in points, tied for the league, and lead in rebounds, and leading the team in steals. He shot 6 for 15 from the field in 37 minutes, 3 for 8 from 3, making all 9 of his free throws. And for the Philadelphia 76ers, their shooting guard Seth Curry would finish with 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 5 for 11 from the field in 33 minutes. Their elite point guard Ben Simmons would finish with 11 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 3 for 11 from the field and 5 for 8 from the free throw line. Their small forward Tobias Harris would finish with 26 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, as he shot 11 for 20 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3. He made both of his free throws. And their elite center Joel Embiid would finish with 29 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, as he shot 7 for 17 from the field. He made 14 of his 16 free throw attempts. With this win, the Philadelphia 76ers are sitting 5th in the East with a 3-1 record, tied with the Pacers and the Cavaliers for the the third best record in the NBA. And then, of course, with this loss, the Toronto Raptors are 0-3. They are sitting 13th in the East, and they are one of 3 teams in the conference that still has yet to win a basketball game. Jumping out to D.C., speaking of the Wizards hosted the Chicago Bulls, and the Bulls were able to pick up their first win of the season, beating the Wizards 115-107, especially following their gradual win, because it was a back and forth game for most of it, but the Bulls, especially for getting the lead early, they were able to get a big advantage over the Washington Wizards. For the Washington Wizards, their small forward off the bench, Davis Bertans, would finish with 20 points and 4 rebounds in 26 minutes, as he shot 9 for 9 from the free throw line. Their elite point guard, Russell Westbrook, would finish with 21 points, 15 rebounds, and 11 assists in 38 minutes, as he shot 9 for 17, 1 for 4 from 3. He made both of his free throws. And their elite shooting guard, Bradley Beal, would finish with 29 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, as he shot 9 for 20 from the field in 37 minutes, 1 for 5 from 3, and he made all 10 of his free throw attempts. For the Chicago Bulls, their small forward off the bench, Otto Porter Jr., would finish with 16 points in 29 minutes, as he shot 4 for 10. Out of the Bulls starters, their point guard, Kobe White, would finish with 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. And their leading scorer was their shooting guard out of UCLA, Zach LaVine, who finished with 23 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals, as he shot 6 for 15 from the field in 38 minutes. He shot 3 for 7 for 3, and he made 8 of his 9 free throw attempts on the night. Jumping out to OKC, the Thunder hosted the Orlando Magic, and in this game, the Magic were able to beat the OKC Thunder 118-107, and extend their record out to 4-0, especially following their big fourth quarter where they outscored the Thunder by 9. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, their starting shooting guard Luguentz Dort would finish with 15 points and 4 rebounds in 29 minutes. Their small forward Isaiah Roby would finish with 19 points for the team as well. he shot 9 for 12 from the field in 28 minutes. And their leading scorer was their shooting guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who finished with 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists, as he shot 8 for 10 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3, and he made 4 of his 5 free throw attempts of the night. And for the Orlando Magic, their shooting guard Dwayne Bacon, their starting shooting guard Dwayne Bacon would finish with 18 points and 8 rebounds. Their starting point guard Markelle Fultz would finish with 11 points and 10 assists. And their leading scorer was their starting center Nikola Vucevic, who finished with 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists, as he shot 12 for 18 from the field in 34 minutes. With this win, the Orlando Magic are now 4-0 as they sit atop the East with the best record. And with this loss, the OKC Thunder are currently sitting 12th in the West with a 1-2 record as it currently stands. And then jumping out to Los Angeles, the Clippers hosted the Minnesota Timberwolves and were able to beat them 124-101 to get their third win of the season, especially after outscoring the Timberwolves 37-21 by 16 in the second quarter. And they were able to outscore them by 9 in the third. So, I mean, they were in the middle of the game. They were able to extend their lead, and they were able to keep the Timberwolves at arm's length for the rest of it. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, out of their starters, their starting point guard, Ricky Rubio, would finish with 17 points and 5 assists, shooting 6 for 8 in 26 minutes. Their starting shooting guard, Malik Beasley, would finish with 19 points and 4 rebounds. Their leading scorer was their shooting guard, D'Angelo Russell, who finished with 22 points and 4 assists. Off the bench, their first overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft, Anthony Edwards, would finish with 12 points and 1 block, shooting 4 for 10 in 25 minutes. And for the Los Angeles Clippers, off the bench, their shooting guard, Lemon Pepper Lou Williams, would finish with 20 points and 5 assists, shooting 7 for 11 from the field in 20 minutes. 20 points in 20 minutes, of course, that's a great feat as he led the team in scoring. Out of their starters, their shooting guard, Luke Kennard, would finish with 15 points and 3 rebounds and 4 assists, shooting 6 for 9 from the field. Their power forward, Serge Ibaka, would finish with 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in 22 minutes. And their leading scorer was Paul George, their elite shooting guard, who had 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, along with 2 blocks, shooting 6 for 12 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and he made both of his free throw attempts. With this win, the Los Angeles Clippers are now 3-1, sitting at the top of the West alongside the Suns and the Kings, holding tied for the best record in that conference. And then speaking of the Sacramento Kings, the Sacramento Kings hosted the Denver Nuggets yesterday, and they were able to get their third win of the season after beating them 125-115. Going into the fourth quarter, the Nuggets were leading 100-96, but the Kings were able to outscore the Nuggets 29-15 in the final quarter to get their third win of the season. For the Denver Nuggets, their starting point guard, Monte Morris, would finish with 24 points and 4 assists. Their elite center, Nikola Jokic, would finish with a triple-double as he had 26 points, 11 rebounds, and 12 assists in yet another amazing all-around performance. He shot 9 for 14 from the field in 39 minutes. He shot 7 for 7 from the free throw line. And then the leading scorer for the Nuggets was their young power forward, Michael Porter Jr., who finished with 30 points and 10 rebounds. He shot 12 for 18 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3. And the leading scorer for looking at the Sacramento Kings, out of their starters, their number 2 overall pick from the 2018 draft, Marvin Bagley III, finished with 18 points in 23 minutes, shooting 6 for 12 from the field. Their power forward, Richaun Holmes, would finish with 20 points for the squad in 32 minutes as he finished with 5 rebounds and 3 assists, along with 2 steals. Their leading scorer was their point guard, De'Aaron Fox, who had 24 points, 3 rebounds, and 9 assists, shooting 8 for 15 from the field, 6 for 7 from the free throw line. And then jumping to the primetime games for last night, starting in Miami, the Miami Heat hosted the Milwaukee Bucks, and in this game, the Milwaukee Bucks, in addition to setting the NBA record for threes made in a game with 29, they were able to beat the Miami Heat 144-97, beating them by 47 after outscoring them by 20 in the first quarter, 12 in the second, 8 in the third, and then 7 in the fourth. It was an all-out slaughter from beginning to end, and it was some good revenge for the Milwaukee Bucks for getting at the Miami Heat, for the Heat knocking the Bucks out in 5 in the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. For the Miami Heat, off the bench, their shooting guard Kendrick Nunn would finish with 15 points and 6 assists in 17 shots in 31 minutes. And then their leading scorer was their shooting guard Tyler Hero, who finished with 23 points and 7 assists in 33 minutes, shooting 9 for 16 from the field. For the Milwaukee Bucks, Their elite power forward, Giannis Antetokounmpo, would finish with 9 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals, shooting 3 for 9 from the field. Their shooting guard, Dante DiVincenzo, would finish with 17 points in 19 minutes, shooting 6 for 8 from the field. Their shooting guard, Jrue Holiday, would finish with 24 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals, shooting 9 for 15 from the field, 6 for 10 from 3. And their leading scorer was Chris Middleton, their starting small forward, who finished with 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in 25 minutes. He shot 10 for 13 from the field and 4 for 5 from 3. With this win, the Milwaukee Bucks are currently sitting in the middle of the East in ninth place with a 2-2 record. And with this loss, the Miami Heat are now 11th in the East with a 1-2 record. And jumping out to the second premier game that was on TNT, the Phoenix Suns were able to beat the New Orleans Pelicans 111-86 to pick up their third win of the season, as they were able to kind of dominate in the second quarter, outscoring the Pelicans by 20 total points and outscoring them by 17 in the third. They were kind of able to dominate this one from a very early stage and showing how strong this Phoenix Suns roster is looking going forward. For the New Orleans Pelicans, their leading scorer was their elite small forward, Zion Williamson, out of Duke, who finished with 20 points and 2 rebounds, shooting 9 for 13 in 29 minutes. For the Phoenix Suns, off the bench, their small forward, Cam Johnson, would finish with 18 points and 2 rebounds, shooting 6 for 13 from the field in 22 minutes. And he shot 4 for 10 from 3. For their starters, their elite shooting guard, Devin Booker, would finish with 8 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. He shot 3 for 9 from the field in 26 minutes. He shot 2 for 7 from 3. And their elite point guard, Chris Paul, would finish with 9 points and 9 assists, shooting 2 for 4 from the field in 23 minutes, making all 4 of his free throws. And the leading scorer for the Phoenix Suns was their small forward, Jay Crowder, who would lead the team He finished with 21 points and 2 rebounds, shooting 6 for 11 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, and he made all 4 of his free throws. With this win, the Phoenix Suns are currently sitting in second place in the West, tied with the Clippers and the Kings for the best record. And with this loss, the New Orleans Pelicans are now sitting in the 8th spot in the West, tied with the Lakers, the Warriors, and the Timberwolves with a 2-2 record so far. That's what the NBA is currently looking like. Looking out to see what games are on for today, the 30th. Starting at 7:30, the 2-2 Brooklyn Nets host the 3-0 Atlanta Hawks, who have had an amazing start to the season. The 2-2 Boston Celtics are going to host the 1-2 Memphis Grizzlies. On NBA TV at 7:30, the 1-2 Miami Heat will host the 2-2 Milwaukee Bucks. Also on NBA TV, the Los Angeles Clippers will host the Portland Trail Blazers at 10 o'clock. Also at 8:30, the 1-2 Mavericks will host the 1-2 Hornets. And at 8:30, the 2-1 San Antonio Spurs will host the reigning 2020 NBA champions, the Los Angeles Lakers. Jumping out to college basketball just to show you what's going on in that league, starting off with yesterday's big performances. First-ranked Gonzaga was able to beat unranked Dixie State 112-67 behind Joel Ajayi's 21 points and 11 rebounds. With this win, Gonzaga is now 9-0 and Dixie State is now 4-2. Also, second-ranked Baylor was able to beat unranked Central Arkansas 93-56 as Makio Teague would lead the team with 20 points. With this win, Butler is now 7-0 and Central Arkansas is now 1-7 with this loss. They've lost all 7 of their games on the road. Unranked Tulsa was able to beat fifth-ranked Houston 65-64 behind Brandon Richards, 20 points and 7 rebounds. With this win, Tulsa is now 5-3 on the season, and with the 2-1 in the American League, and Houston is now 7-1 with this loss. That was their first loss of the season. Quentin Grimes leading the way with 19 points. They are now 2-1 in the American Conference. Continuing on, 9th-ranked West Virginia was able to beat unranked Northeastern 73-51 to jump out to 8-2 on the season. Oscar Tshiebwe would finish with 12 points and 15 rebounds, and this is a big win for West Virginia. Northeastern drops to 1-5 with this loss. 10th-ranked Iowa was able to beat 19th-ranked Northwestern 87-72 as they jumped out to 8-2 with a 2-1 Big Ten record. Jordan Bohannon would lead Iowa in scoring as he had 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. And with this loss, Northwestern now drops to 6-2 as they are now 3-1 and pick up their first loss in the Big Ten. 13th ranked Texas Tech was able to beat unranked Incarnate Word 73-51 as they were led by Kyler Edwards, who finished with 10 points and 8 rebounds. With this win, Texas Tech is now 8-2 on the season, and Incarnate Word is now 1-4. 14th ranked Rutgers was able to beat unranked Purdue 81-76 to jump out to 7-1 and 3-1 in the Big Ten behind Montez Mathis' 27 points. With this loss, Purdue is now 7-4. They are 2-2 in the Big Ten behind Travion Williams' 21 points and 12 rebounds. 18th ranked Florida State went into Clemson, and they were able to pick up their first loss in the ACC. Clemson beat them 77-67 as Clyde Trapp led the way with 15 points and 6 rebounds. With this win, Clemson is now 7-1. They are 1-1 in the ACC, and with this loss, Florida State is now 5-2. They are 1-1 in the ACC. And then last but not least, 24th ranked Virginia Tech was able to beat unranked Miami 80-78 after putting up a big first half. Miami tried to come back, but it was Kiwi Aluma's clutch 2-pointer to give them 26 points for the day, and to give Virginia the 8-1 start, and it would give them the 2-0 start in the ACC that they needed. With this loss, Miami is now 4-3, and they are 0-2 in the ACC. Looking out to today's matchups at 3 o'clock, second-ranked Baylor hosts 0-4 Alcorn State. At 6 o'clock, unranked Notre Dame is going to host 4-2 23rd-ranked Virginia at 6 o'clock. At 6:30, 25th-ranked Ohio State is going to host unranked Nebraska as Ohio State is 7-2, looking to improve on their record. At 9 o'clock, 12th-ranked 6-0 Mizzou is going to host 7th-ranked 6-0 Tennessee on SEC Network. So that's going to be a pretty big college basketball matchup as both teams look to give the other their first loss of the season, and both teams look to gain their first SEC win for the season. Continuing on, jumping out to college football, just to update everyone with what's going on with the bowl schedule. Jumping into yesterday's matchups, of course, starting with the Cheez-It Bowl. 18th ranked Miami faced off against 21st ranked Oklahoma State, and in this game, it'll be Spencer Sanders leading the way for Oklahoma State, throwing for 305 yards and 4 touchdowns, as they were able to get a 21-0 lead early, and then the Hurricanes started to come back, but the Oklahoma State Cowboys were able to keep their lead, and they were able to pull out the win. For Miami, De'Aaron King, their starting quarterback, would go down in the second quarter, and N'Kosi Perry would take over, throwing for 228 yards. Just a good overall game, and then the biggest performance was probably Brennan Presley, the underused Oklahoma State wide receiver, who finished with 118 yards on 6 receptions and 3 touchdowns. With this win, Oklahoma State will end their season 8-3, just like Miami, but unlike Miami, Oklahoma State will have a Cheez-It Bowl win under their belt for this season. And then also jumping out to the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio, the Colorado Buffaloes face off against the 20th ranked Texas Longhorns, and the 20th ranked Texas Longhorns were able to pick up their 7th win of the season, beating the Buffaloes 55-23 as they dominated roughly every quarter except for the second. For the Longhorns, their quarterback Taysom Thompson would complete 8 of his 10 passes, throwing for 170 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was probably the most impressive offensive player of the day, and Bijan Robinson would finish with 183 yards on 10 carries and a touchdown. He also had 2 receiving touchdowns on his two receptions for the day. Big win for Texas, and with this loss, Colorado will finish their season 4-2. And while we're staying on the topic of college football, just looking out to what games are happening today. Because today is December 30th. At 8 o'clock, 6th ranked Oklahoma is going to face off against 7th ranked Florida in the Cotton Bowl Classic. So that'll be a very big matchup. That's the big college football matchup for today. And then jumping out to soccer, just to show you what's going on, and just to show you what's going on in soccer in general. Starting with yesterday's performances in the Premier League. Manchester United was able to beat Wolverhampton on the 93rd minute on a goal from Marcus Rashford, which would end their season. Second in the Premier League, as they're only 2 points behind Liverpool, as both teams have officially played 15 games on the season. So both teams have won the same amount of games, so it's very interesting to see where Manchester United goes from here. And then jumping out to La Liga, Barcelona tied with Eibar 1-1. And then looking out to how this is going to look in La Liga. Barcelona currently sits 6th in the La Liga table, as they are currently They are 7 points out from the top behind Atletico Madrid, even though they played 2 more games. And this draw didn't necessarily help their case to try to come back and get the win that they most desperately needed. But looking out to what's going on today in the Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur is going to host Fulham at 1 o'clock. Tottenham is sitting... They're sitting 7th in the table. They were recently sitting 2nd, and they were tied with Liverpool, but after their loss, they kind of dropped a little bit. Right now, they are 6 points removed from the top with the same amount of games played. So a win against Fulham could bring them back up in the table. And then Newcastle United is going to host Liverpool at 3 o'clock. Liverpool is the top team in the Premier League. A win for them could see them sit a little bit more comfortably at the very, very top of the table. And then jumping out to Spain, Atletico Madrid is going to host Getafe at 1 o'clock. Looking out into La Liga, Atletico Madrid currently leads the table. They have the same amount of points as Real Madrid, but they've played 2 less games. So Atletico Madrid is currently sitting comfortably at the top of that table. And then Real Madrid is going to go to Elche at 3 o'clock. Real Madrid is sitting 2nd in the table. They have this, like I said, they have the same amount of points in the table as Atletico Madrid. But they've played 2 more games. But a win against Elche could most definitely help their chances to try to go for the title again for La Liga. And with that said, that's everything that's going on. That's everything that happened yesterday, Tuesday, December 29th. And today is Wednesday, December 30th, 2020, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims. I want to thank you for listening to all 26 minutes of this installment of The Elite. I hope all is well, and then I'll catch you guys tomorrow following tonight's basketball games, and I'm gonna come back for this next video where I go through the players that I believe are the elite baseball players going into 2021. Thanks again. I want to thank you once again for listening to my piece, and peace out.